Before we move on to the next match, gents, I did want to bring your attention to someone who's not involved at all here today, have not been involved with the season with Tottenham Hotspur so far as well. There's only a couple hours left to the transfer window this summer, and Tanguy Ndombele for a long time has been wanting an out from Tottenham Hotspur. He clearly wasn't happy under Jose Mourinho, doesn't seem to be favoured under Nuno Santo as well, or Ryan Mason when he was interim manager at that point. And he was their record signing, that's the thing. And in the 40 Premier League games that he started for Tottenham Hotspur, hasn't really hit the heights of what expected of him. What's the best case scenario here, Martin Keown? Because he was on big money. He is on big money. In fact, he was a big transfer. What's the likelihood of being able to offload him at a fee that Daniel Levy would be happy with?
Well, what we have to look at is Sissoko's just left the football club. Do you really want to empty out another midfield player? Ndombele, I thought, actually the second half of Mourinho's tenure, he was given a decent role. He took over from Dele Alli. He was playing sort of advanced in the midfield, and he was actually starting to look the part. But he'd never quite taken the eye of the Spurs fans. But maybe Nuno feels he wants to keep him, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. But what he's done, he's made it very clear. Joe Hart, he said to him, "You'll never play a single game for me." He said something similar to Sissoko, and the door's been open for those players to leave. Well, I'm not sure whether Ndombele is at the same conversation, but we're going to find out in the next couple of days before the window ends.
Should Nuno try to keep him, Martin O'Neill? I mean, is there a worth in keeping a player who clearly doesn't want to be there at this point? Twice now he's put in a transfer request.
Well, sometimes I'm surprised, Michelle, that for instance, Nuno has come in, he's made a big decision on Hart for a start, and he wouldn't really know Hart too well. He would obviously know of his ability, but if that's the decision that he and Daniel Levy have decided to make, then fine, okay. But in terms of an outfield player like Ndombele, I think he is a very, very talented footballer. He's exasperating as well too in many aspects, and I'm sure. And again, he ended up being criticised greatly publicly as well too by Jose. And that's dispiriting, I must admit, for a player to find that. So you always felt that he was fighting a losing battle there. But what was interesting again is that when Jose leaves, perhaps he might feel as if, yeah, listen, I'll tell you what, I've got a new lease of life here, new manager coming in. And then suddenly the managers arrive, and I'm not talking about Mason not playing him, who would have known him a bit better, but some manager who doesn't really know him too well, but essentially he's got a decision to make. Shall, as Martin mentioned earlier there, keep a midfield player when one has gone out the door, somebody that's unhappy. I think that the thing that if I was in that position there, I would do my utmost to try and win the player around to say, listen, you've got immense talent, natural talent. How you use that talent is in the course of football matches is the most important thing. And if you have done your very, very best to try and keep the player at the football club, and even then after that he wants to leave, then perhaps maybe you should just maybe cut your losses. But I would think that if the transfer deadline passes and he's unable to get that sort of move, working with the player, doing your utmost as a manager and as a coach to get the best out of that particular player and bringing him back into the fold, to me, that would be the first thing that the manager should be trying to do.
The thing is, and there were a lot of expectation when Ndombele was brought in, Martin Keown. 4 different managers now: Pochettino, Nuno, Ryan Mason, Jose Mourinho as well. Neither of them, as you mentioned, he did have a bit more of a part in the second half of Jose Mourinho's tenure, but generally hasn't really hit the heights or has hit the expectations of what Spurs fans would want. Why do you think, with 4 managers, neither of them could really get the best out of him?
Yeah, but then I'd like to think that Nuno goes in, and as Wenger always used to say to me, you have to love your players. But players are they're like black belts when they realise that a manager doesn't like them, they get that vibe. Maybe that's what's happened with Ndombele. He feels maybe that the manager just doesn't want him there. But, I think Nuno, he's not stupid. He's demonstrating that he can work with players. He's brought Skip into the midfield, for instance, that wasn't really a part of the plans last season. He's brought Dele Alli back in again. So he is open, and he's brought Dele Alli back in again. So he is open to players improving. to improve people and get better. So I'd like to think if you're given another opportunity, if he doesn't find that move that he's...
So I assume
Michelle.
that, yes.
Michelle, just saying to you, having looked at the stats, and you've just mentioned not just one, but 4 managers have decided that he might not be up to it, then you might have a point then at the end. Maybe it is time for him to go. If you can understand arguing with 1, 2, yeah, 2's a problem, 3's a bit of a crowd, 4, it is a lot of managers eventually. Maybe the managers know more than we do.